Before we dive into this incredible story, if you're enjoying these untold Hollywood secrets, please hit that like button and subscribe for more shocking celebrity revelations. Your support means the world to us. Now let's get into this amazing story. February 18th, 1964, CBS Television Studios, Hollywood. Sammy Davis Jr., one of the most talented entertainers in America, was sitting in a sterile conference room being told by network executive Charles Morrison that he was not suitable for the Sunday night variety hour. What Morrison didn't know was that Doris Day was in the hallway outside, and she had heard every word of the conversation that was about to end his career. What America's sweetheart did next wasn't just about defending a friend. It was about using star power to fight the systemic racism that was poisoning American entertainment. Within 3 months, Charles Morrison would be fired from CBS, the Sunday night variety hour would be canceled, and the entire television industry would learn that discriminating against performers because of their race had consequences. This is the story of how Doris Day proved that some friendships are worth fighting for, and why standing up for what's right sometimes means taking on the entire system. In 1964, television was America's most powerful entertainment medium, but it was also one of the most segregated. While black performers like Sammy Davis Jr., Harry Belafonte, and Lena Horne were selling out concert halls and breaking records, they were largely excluded from television variety shows. TV executives claimed that Southern audiences wouldn't watch programs featuring black entertainers, explained television historian J. Fred McDonald. It was institutionalized racism disguised as business decisions. Sammy Davis Jr. was the most frustrating case of all. As a member of the Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, Sammy was one of the most popular entertainers in the world. He could sing, dance, act, do impressions, and play multiple instruments. Sammy was probably the most talented performer of his generation, recalled variety show producer Gary Smith. But network television treated him like he was radioactive because of his race. The meeting that would change everything was arranged by Sammy's agent, who thought the Sunday night variety hour might be different. The show featured guest performers in musical and comedy segments, and it had occasionally featured black jazz musicians. What Sammy's agent didn't know was that executive producer Charles Morrison had strict unwritten rules about who could appear on his show. Doris Day was at CBS that February afternoon for a meeting about her own upcoming television special. She had arrived early and was waiting in the hallway when she heard voices coming from the conference room. "Mr. Davis, I want to be direct with you," Morrison was saying. "You're undeniably talented, but you're not right for our show." "What exactly makes me not right?" Sammy asked, though he suspected what was coming. "Our audience has certain expectations, they're comfortable with certain types of performers, and frankly, you don't fit the image we're trying to project." "You mean because I'm black?" Morrison's response revealed the cold calculation behind television's racial exclusion. "I mean because you represent something that might make our viewers uncomfortable, and uncomfortable viewers change the channel. So no matter how talented I am, no matter how popular I am with live audiences, you won't put me on television because some people are racist. I won't put you on television because my job is to deliver ratings, not to make social statements." That's when Doris Day knocked on the conference room door. "Excuse me," she said, entering without waiting for permission. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing the conversation." Morrison immediately brightened. Doris Day was CBS's biggest star, and her television specials regularly drew huge audiences. "Miss Day, what a pleasant surprise. We were just finishing up here." "No, you weren't finishing up. You were just getting started explaining to one of America's most talented performers why his skin color makes him unsuitable for your television show." The room went completely silent. Morrison tried to backtrack. "Miss Day, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We're not making decisions based on race." "Then what are you basing them on?" "Because I just heard you tell Sammy Davis Jr. That he doesn't fit your image." Sammy looked at Doris with surprise and gratitude. He had expected to fight this battle alone. "Miss Day," Morrison said carefully, "business decisions in television are complicated. We have to consider our entire audience, your entire audience. You mean the part of your audience that doesn't want to see black performers, but not the part that does. You mean the audience that matters to you versus the audience that doesn't. Morrison was sweating now. We have to be practical about ratings and demographics. Let me tell you what's practical, Mr. Morrison. Sammy Davis Jr. sells out the Copa, the Sands, and every major venue in America. His records are bestsellers. His movies are hits, but you think he's not good enough for television. Doris turned to address Sammy directly. Sammy, I want you to know that not everyone in this industry thinks like Mr. Morrison. Some of us believe that talent and character matter more than skin color. Then she turned back to Morrison with an expression that would haunt him for the rest of his very short remaining career. Mr. Morrison, I have a proposal for you. You book Sammy as a guest on the Sunday night variety hour. Give him the respect and showcase he deserves, and treat him like the star he is. And if I choose not to, then you'll discover what it's like to produce a variety show without the support of the biggest stars in entertainment. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Miss Day, surely you're not suggesting I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you exactly what will happen. If Sammy Davis Jr. isn't good enough for your show, then neither am I. Neither is Rock Hudson. Neither is Frank Sinatra, or Dean Martin, or anyone else who believes that talent should matter more than prejudice. Morrison was trapped. He couldn't afford to lose Doris Day's support, but he also didn't want to deal with potential Southern viewer backlash. Miss Day, let me think about this and get back to you. There's nothing to think about, Mr. Morrison. You either believe in giving opportunities to deserving performers, regardless of race, or you don't. Which is it? Don't forget to comment below and let us know what other inspiring stories of standing up against discrimination you'd like to hear about. What happened next proved that when America's sweetheart decided to fight for justice, she fought with everything she had. Morrison, faced with losing his biggest star, reluctantly agreed to book Sammy as a guest performer. But his reluctance was obvious, and his resentment was palpable. I'll put him on the show, Morrison said through gritted teeth. But don't expect me to be happy about it. I don't expect you to be happy about it. Doris replied. I expect you to be professional about it. And I expect you to give Sammy the same treatment you'd give any other world-class entertainer. After Sammy left, Doris stayed behind for a private conversation with Morrison that would seal his fate. Mr. Morrison, I want you to understand something. This isn't just about one booking or one show. This is about what kind of industry we want to work in. Miss Day, I understand your position, but you have to understand mine. Television is a business, so is music, and music has figured out how to make money with black performers. So has film, increasingly. So has live entertainment. The only business that hasn't figured it out is television. Because television goes into people's homes, so do records, Mr. Morrison. So do movies when people see them on TV. The problem isn't that television goes into homes. The problem is that television executives are more afraid of racist viewers than they are committed to showcasing the best talent. Morrison tried one more time to justify his position. Miss Day, you're asking me to risk the show's ratings for a social cause. No, Mr. Morrison, I'm asking you to do your job, which is to present the best entertainment possible to your audience. Sammy Davis Jr. is better entertainment than 90% of the people you put on that show. And if Southern stations refuse to air the episode, then you'll learn whether your show is strong enough to succeed without the support of racists. And if it's not, maybe it doesn't deserve to succeed. Doris left CBS that afternoon, knowing that she had won the battle, but suspecting that Morrison would try to sabotage Sammy's appearance. She was right. Over the next several weeks, Morrison did everything possible to minimize Sammy's role on the show. He scheduled Sammy for the smallest possible segment, refused to promote his appearance, and tried to surround him with less talented performers to make him look out of place. But Morrison had underestimated both Sammy Davis Jr.'s talent and Doris Day's determination. Doris began quietly calling other major stars, letting them know about Morrison's behavior and asking for their support. When Doris Day calls you and says that a network executive is discriminating against Sammy Davis Jr., you pay attention, recalled singer Andy Williams. Everyone loved Sammy, and everyone respected Doris for taking a stand. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Frank Sinatra called CBS executives directly, threatening to pull out of his own network commitments if Sammy wasn't treated properly. Dean Martin made it clear that any future television work would depend on the network's treatment of his Rat Pack colleague. Even performers who weren't particularly close to Sammy began expressing support, understanding that discrimination against one performer threatened the integrity of the entire industry. It became a test case, explained television historian Susan Murray. If CBS could get away with discriminating against someone as talented and popular as Sammy Davis Jr., then no performer was safe from arbitrary exclusion. The pressure on Morrison became intense, but instead of improving his treatment of Sammy, he made a decision that would destroy his career. He tried to cancel Sammy's appearance entirely, claiming scheduling conflicts and creative differences. That's when Doris Day made the phone call that would end Charles Morrison's career in television. She called William S. Paley, the chairman of CBS, directly. "Mr. Paley," Doris said, "I want you to know that one of your executives is embarrassing your network and undermining your reputation by discriminating against black performers." Paley was smart enough to understand the implications immediately. "Miss Day, tell me exactly what happened." Doris provided a detailed account of Morrison's behavior, from his initial rejection of Sammy to his attempts to sabotage the booking that he had been forced to make. "Mr. Paley, Charles Morrison is making CBS look like a network that's stuck in the past. While other networks are beginning to showcase black talent, CBS is actively excluding it." Paley knew that losing Doris Day would be catastrophic for the network. More importantly, he understood that being perceived as racist would damage CBS's reputation with advertisers and viewers. "Miss Day, what would you like me to do?" "I'd like you to ensure that CBS treats all performers with equal respect and equal opportunity, regardless of their race. And I'd like you to make sure that executives who discriminate against talented performers face consequences for their behavior." Within a week, Charles Morrison was removed as executive producer of the Sunday night variety hour. Within a month, he was terminated from CBS entirely. The network issued a quiet statement about pursuing new creative directions, but industry insiders understood exactly what had happened. Morrison was fired for discriminating against Sammy Davis Jr., and everyone in television knew it, recalled former CBS executive Mike Dan. The message was clear: racism would have professional consequences. Sammy's appearance on the Sunday night variety hour, now under new management, was a triumph. He performed a medley of his hits, did impressions of other entertainers, and demonstrated the versatility that had made him famous. The audience response was overwhelmingly positive, and the ratings were excellent. Sammy proved that Charles Morrison had been completely wrong, observed variety show historian Gerald Nachman. He wasn't unsuitable for television, he was exactly what television needed. More importantly, Sammy's successful appearance opened doors for other black performers who had been systematically excluded from television variety shows. The Davis booking became a turning point, explained civil rights historian Taylor Branch. It showed that network discrimination could be challenged successfully, and it encouraged other performers and advocates to push for greater inclusion. The long-term consequences were even more significant. CBS began actively recruiting black performers for their variety shows and specials. Other networks, not wanting to be seen as less progressive than CBS, followed suit. By 1965, television variety shows were featuring black performers regularly, and the systematic exclusion that had characterized the medium began to break down. Doris Day's confrontation with Charles Morrison changed television, observed media historian J. Fred McDonald. It proved that economic pressure could overcome racial prejudice when applied by people with enough influence. In 1975, 11 years after the CBS confrontation, Sammy Davis Jr. was asked by a reporter about Doris Day's role in advancing his television career. His response revealed the depth of his gratitude and respect for her courage. Doris Day didn't just help me get a booking on one television show. She helped change an entire industry's approach to race and talent. What she did took courage, because she risked her own relationship with the network to defend someone who was being discriminated against. Not everyone would have taken that risk, but Doris understood that talent and character should matter more than skin color, and she was willing to put her career on the line to prove it. February 18, 1964. A network executive told one of America's most talented performers that he wasn't suitable for television because of his race. 3 months later, that executive was unemployed, and the performer was opening doors for an entire generation of black entertainers. The difference was made by a woman who understood that real friendship means fighting for your friends when they can't fight for themselves. America's sweetheart proved that day that sweetness and strength aren't opposites. They're partners. That when you combine talent with moral courage, you can change an entire industry. Some battles are fought with fists, others are fought with phone calls to network chairmen. Doris Day won her battle with a combination of star power and moral authority that Charles Morrison never saw coming. And Sammy Davis Jr. won opportunities that he deserved but had been denied because of the color of his skin. The lesson was simple: discrimination has consequences when someone with enough power decides to impose them. And sometimes the person with enough power is America's sweetheart, who proves that sweetness doesn't mean weakness. It means having the strength to do what's right, even when it's not easy, even when it's not popular, even when it costs something, because some things are worth the cost, like friendship, like justice, like proving that talent and character matter more than prejudice. Doris Day proved all of that in one afternoon at CBS and changed television history in the process. The sweetest victory of all.